Hey guys, you are listening to Insights with Kathleen,
Please join us while we share our insights and experiences
with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself.
for the answers you already have.
As with all information we receive,
Take what speaks to you
and leave the rest.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
hello guys, how are you doing?
Oh, I hope everybody's doing well.
I hope everyone's doing fantastic.
So, Sherry, what's on the agenda for today?
Well, what's on the agenda today? Why don't we talk about resistance?
Resistance.
Yes.
That sounds rather delicious.
That sounds I feel like you find everything delicious, though. No one is over here like, I want to talk about it. I'm still trepidating, but it's okay because I want to talk about it because I'm going to draw from my own experience so you guys don't have to.
Lovely.
Lovely. So I'm going to do the old trope of I'm trying to go on a diet. I'm trying to eat better. I'm trying to lose weight, eat better, feel good about myself, etc. And I think a big thing for me is like my intuition's telling me like, hey, if you just sit down, take time with your food, like, eat healthy in that sense. But my brain's like, no, I gotta like exercise and do all these like weightlifting things and all this stuff, and I hurt myself a lot. And instead of going with my intuition of the, hey, eat healthy and focus more on that because that's something that you're trying to work through, my brain's kind of like, no, but I have to exercise and I have to exert myself. And I realize that I should be doing like my diet and being healthy, but my brain's tearing me apart to be like, hey, do lifting weights, and then I hurt my neck. So, which is not good. So that's kind of the resistance I've been feeling with that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing that up.
Of course.
Cherry, if you figure this out, then you will be a multimillionaire.
Yes, I heard. We got it on record, guys.
All right. Well, let's just validate everybody right now. Resistance is hard. There is no one pat answer to overcome resistance.
For sure, yeah.
And it is a individual kind of struggle, if you will.
Right.
Right? So I think the first key, kind of like those who have addictions, is to recognize that you have a problem.
Yes. It took me a while to realize I had that issue until I hurt my neck like 4 times. So I have a problem. I'll admit that.
Well, you know what? Hey, you're not alone. And I'd have to say that just about everybody in the world has had issues with resistance, you know, and one time or another in their life. So I think one thing that we could do is figure out what's the root cause.
Right.
So when you're talking about your diet, you already know because your spirit team has been giving you recommendations that, focus on your food, focus on how you eat, focus when you eat, right?
Yes.
So they've been giving you those clear instructions.
Right.
Right. And and your human's like, oh no, that's not what we got to do. What do you mean? No.
I sound like Mary Poppins.
You always sound like Mary Poppins when I'm imitating you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So so I think the thing is what is it, right? Is it because, you know what, just focusing on food sounds too simple?
Right. Yeah.
Right? So is it just that's so simple that it's like, no, the world's telling me I have to do so much more.
Right. Because I'll see all these advertisements and commercials, and a lot of times they'll have these people that have like 8 packs and they just look like a giant muscle, and they're like, yeah, once you buy this product or whatever, you'll have these muscles, and like the muscle training is the most important out of everything.
Right. So I think then we need to listen to our inner voice. Right. So when we say spirit team, that's also part of your inner voice.
Right. Thanks for clarifying.
Sure. Because if we take in all of the information and we lean on all the information that's fed to us, right?
Right.
We don't know what's distorted information and what's not.
Right.
So that's where our inner voice is so important to each and every one of us.
For sure.
is to be able to lean on that with confidence.
With confidence.
With confidence. So, for your particular situation, you already know you're out there and you're looking and you're trying to figure out the best recipe.
Right.
You know what? Come on. For all of you who are listening, tell me you're not trying to figure out that best recipe, right?
Right.
When it comes to weight loss,
Right.
You know, or health, or any of that,
Right. Yeah.
So I think some of it is just it's about the mechanics first. It's about being in the moment. It's about blessing your food, right? So what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Kathleen?
What are you talking
What are you
about?
talking about? We're talking about resistance, and you're over here saying bless your food.
Beat me to it, I guess.
Sorry. No, I am not a mind reader.
It seems like you are or something.
By stopping to bless your food. So blessing your food is really acknowledging the energy that went into the food coming to you. From the energy, let's say that you're eating a salad, right? So each piece of that vegetation that's in your salad,
Right.
you know, it took energy from the ground so that it could grow and be the most tasty piece of lettuce ever, or the most juicy tomato, or whatever it is that you put in your salad, right? So we want to thank it, bless it for all of that energy that went into bringing it to you. You know, and I specifically mentioned stuff grown in the ground opposed to stuff that's produced at a factory, but even that still needs to be blessed because of all the energy that goes into packaging.
I have a question though. So I know when I was younger and, you know, I was Christian and stuff, we would pray over our food. Is there a difference between praying over the food versus blessing the food? Because I know there is a difference.
Well, that probably is a whole nother podcast, but I'll see if I can say this very concisely. So as Christians, when people are praying, they're giving thanks to God for bringing the food to them.
Right.
Okay. Blessing the food is you're basically giving thanks to even the food for showing up, giving thanks to it. So it's even more.
Okay.
It's more. So, and this is why it could be a whole nother podcast, is because, again, in Christianity or Judaism or Muslim or any of them who are blessing the food and thanking God for it.
Right.
In that process of thanking God, they're also giving power away, because they're expecting that God to be this big thing far away from them and undeserving.
Right.
The even of that love and that worthiness piece. And that's what keeps them imprisoned and victimized. Because what somehow, and oh boy, this could really take me on a whole nother tangent, Cherry, and I do apologize to those who are listening because I may go on that tangent. So what that ends up doing is also the powers to be around those different religions use that as a way to manipulate. Right? So I'm not saying like present day necessarily, but like way back when they were first formed.
Right.
People saw an opportunity to use people. And to organize them in such a way to continue to use them and manipulate them. So how do you do that? Well, you make them unworthy. You make them unworthy. And the thing that they tend to negate, or they don't put a whole lot of focus on, is, you know, how I'm going to speak more to the Christian faith, right? Where they talk about that we are sons and daughters of God.
Right.
And I'm sure you guys have heard me say this before. We're sons and daughters of God. And if we're sons and daughters of God, we inherit. Right?
Yeah.
So we have a God spark in us, which therefore we are God.
Ooh.
We are not the God. So please know that I know that. All right. But it's kind of like, you know, hey, you know, in the old traditional way where like my parents got married and my mom took my dad's last name. So therefore I am that. Right. So I go by his last name. Let's just say his last name, you know, was Marie. Not that it is, but let's just say that it is. So now I've become a Marie. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of principle or idea. And that's what, like in Christianity, like especially like when Jesus was walking the earth, that's what he was trying to explain and say to people, hey, you're sons and daughters of God. So you inherit that. You have
Right.
those same powers within you.
Oh.
Right? And you have access to that. And that's why Jesus came, and that's why he was here, is so that he can show us and teach us that, hey, I'm a man. I am God, but I'm a man.
Right.
Just
in
like
human
you.
form. Yeah.
Just like you. You're God in human form. And you have access to our Heavenly Father, which is Source. You have access to a whole spirit team. Okay. So that was my tangent, which I really could continue to go on even more, but we want to come back to resistance. So
I'm glad. I liked the tangent.
So in blessing your food, right? You're becoming more conscientious. You're more conscious of what's in front of you.
Yes, and you could also attest to this. When I was not really present eating my food, someone could stick a piece of paper in there and I'd be eating it because I'm just eating and not looking.
I actually saw her do it. I'm sorry to embarrass you, Sherry.
It's okay, I did it before you could do it. But I would, and like just having that difference of like being mindful of like, because you would say like, oh, well, describe the lettuce on your plate, or like all of it, and just take time with that food. It made such a huge difference, and I did lose weight at school doing that because I was like, very moment.
Because you're in the moment, you're focusing on it, you're observing the colorations, the textures, the smells.
Also, I realized a lot of things I thought tasted good actually taste very bad. I'd go to my favorite fast food place, I'd eat, I'm like, this is terrible, because I'm actually sitting and eating it, not chugging it down with a soda and fries. So that also helps not to eat that particular fast food.
Right. And then tasting it, much to your point, right? So when you actually take the time to chew and taste, then it gives you different information. Right. So, okay. So we know that being in a moment, blessing our food, that's helpful. Right. Yeah. But what about that voice in the head that's saying, no, you want to exercise, man. You got to move. Get off your lazy butt.
I loved it. She was trying to say different words, and she's like, I can't say these inappropriate words. You're lazy butt.
It was actually a 3-letter word I was going to say, and I chose not to say.
Good for you. Good resistance on your
We all have it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the reason I say that this is like the age-old question, and you can end up with $1 million if we solve it. There are companies out there who are trying to figure out, how do we get patients to be compliant to their medical practice, like taking their medications, showing up and doing whatever's necessary for their care. Right. Because what can happen for all of us is we start out we start out with these great intentions, and we start out and we do. Right. We follow through, and we're doing it for maybe about a week and a half. And then all of a sudden we get sidetracked because life sidetracks us. Right. So when that happens, we kind of need to take that breath and just come back. But it is the mind story, and it's recognizing that we have a mind story going on. And you recognize that.
Yes.
So yay you, because you're that much closer to overcoming the resistance. But resistance will show up for other things other times. It's just part of life. But resistance tells us also a story.
Oh?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little flag to say, hey, Sherry, I know you're feeling some resistance now, but got to dig deeper. What is really at the root of that?
Oh, it always is that, isn't it?
Well, it is. Think of it like this. So as we go chugging along with our life, and for all those wonderful people out there who are listening to our podcasts, and we have kind of shook the tree a little bit, right? And we've encouraged people to kind of just sit with feels and, dive into what's really at the root of that feel.
Right.
resistance is also a feeling.
What are you saying to me?
Well, because it's how you feel about something, and then you want to resist it.
Ah, okay.
Right? So it's a part of it. I won't say it's an actual feeling, but it kind of coincides.
Right.
And it's an opportunity to say, all right, you know what? I know that I'm resisting this. Why am I resisting this? I'm going to tell you a story. So I went to go visit my dad. And he has this lovely neighbor up there. And sometimes we'll do a little bantering back and forth. And he was basically telling me, that he had all this work to do and whatnot. And he wrote three things down. He was texting me. He wrote 3 things down. And I'm like, well, hey, at least you have a list.
Right.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, there's a lot more to go on that list. And then he's telling me he needs somebody to keep him honest to help him knock out those things. But to remind him to knock them out,
Right.
not help him do it, but to stand there and kind of be the taskmaster. Do this, do this, do this,
Right.
do this, do this. Which really isn't fair to the person the imaginary person even, that he
Right.
thinks should be standing there telling him to do this, do this, do this. Because talk about resentment, right?
Yes.
So I told him, I know who. And I texted him, you. Like, you're the best person for this job. So he's coming back at me. And basically, I just said, yeah. I called him out on it. He's resisting.
Right.
And I was trying to tell him, make it a game. So it's kind of the same thing. So what are you saying, Kathleen? You're making no sense. I know. I hear myself talking. That's why I'm asking all these questions for people out there listening.
I wasn't even thinking that yet. I was enjoying it.
All right. So if you make a game of it, like if you recognize the fact that you're resisting.
Right.
Much like you are.
Yes.
So give your mind a game.
Okay.
Say, hey, let's just try this for 2 weeks and see where it gets us without the exercising. How about we read a book about it, but we don't do it? How about you be quiet and here's a hug and go sit in the corner?
Shut up and sit down. I'll tape tuck your mouth. No, but I like what you're saying of the, hey, let's play the game. Because I think for me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
What? Did you all hear that? She thinks she's a perfectionist.
So I guess for me with my thing, whenever I feel that I'm resisting something, then I feel extra bad because then I'm judging because I'm like, I'm being resistant. What's wrong with me for being resistant? And then I continue to be resistant anyway. So it's not even helping me.
Yeah. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
When I was younger, I still am a perfectionist.
When you were younger, you still are a perfectionist?
No, when I was younger, I was a perfectionist. Today, I'm still a perfectionist. See? I messed that up on purpose.
What a perfectionist. That was a good sentence.
The thing is, it really comes down to the self-judgment.
Right.
At least what you're describing.
Right.
Right. And I know for me when I was younger and living in that perfection place, like everything has to be perfect. I have to do it just so. It has to be just so.
Right.
It came down to self-worth and it came down to self-acceptance and, self-judgment. And for me, it was about, I have to do this because I need to show the world I have value.
Right.
I need to show that I'm worthy in some way. And for me, I know where that stemmed from. That stemmed from my abuse, from being abused as a child.
Right.
And then having that abuser tell me that this is all my fault. Like if I tell anybody, they're just going to blame me.
Right.
So that this perfectionism piece for me was a byproduct of that. Right? So it was also a way to control my world. So if I do everything perfect, nothing bad's going to happen to me.
Right.
Yeah?
I mean, no, yeah. Yes, but no.
All right. Give it to me. Lay
Well,
it on
I was
me.
going to say, because I know from my end, I kind
Mhm.
of, growing up, I kind of, contributed to my family, like financially or just in different ways. So I always like, I have to be the good kid. I have to, contribute the money. I have to do this. And I always wanted to make sure everything was in a row because I thought if I screwed up, then we would lose certain things because we just didn't grow up with that much. So I guess for me, my perfectionism stands of like, oh gosh, people are counting on me, and if I don't do it right,
Right. So yours really also comes from the fact that your parents had flipped the roles and made you the parent and they are the children.
right,
So when then you become when those roles get flipped, then this perfectionism, as you're describing it, that surfaces. That's a byproduct. That's a byproduct of parents flipping the roles.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is blown. I was not expecting that today. Wow, that was good.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you were very welcome. So my parents, just like the byproduct that I just grew up in, that's where the perfectionism stems, and that's kind of why I feel I have to do things a certain way because I'm like, oh, people are counting on me, or I'm counting on me, and like, if I don't, bad things will happen.
Well, yeah, especially based on your earlier years and how things were then.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you also know that this whole thing that you're sharing with us really stems from the very beginnings of your life.
Right.
The inconsistencies.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Children need consistencies.
Right.
And so you felt unsafe. And then as you got older, the parents really were flipping, because now you can walk and you can talk and you can think and you can drive and you can do all these other things.
Right.
So now they're laying victim and putting it all on you. So now that they've totally propagated, or what's the word I'm looking for? Totally planted that whole perfectionism piece for you, and they watered it and grew it.
Right.
Right. Not saying that it's all their fault,
right?
Because that's about you,
right?
It's just these circumstances is what helped.
Okay.
Which lined you up for, and it's a defensive thing, and it's nothing to judge yourself on,
right?
And so anybody listening to this, don't judge you on this.
Oh, of course not.
This is a survival tactic that your brain does to keep you safe.
Right.
And we'd only know what we know. And, Sherry and I, we've spent lots of time together. So we do have other deep conversations besides our podcast. And so we've definitely learned a lot about each other and about certain situations. So, dear listener, do recognize that, the world that we live in is not perfect. It's not. And that's okay. What that means is that there is all this opportunity of growth, all this opportunity to heal and rise above.
Oh, I love that.
Anything that may have happened to you. It's an opportunity to put your foot down and say, oh, hell no, I'm not going to be no victim.
Yeah.
Right? Because at some point we've all been victimized in some way.
Right.
Some more dramatic than others. But I would just want to validate you, dear listener, that you're a whole person worthy of all of this beautiful love that's out there to be had. It starts with you. Love you enough to put your foot down and say, I'm done with, whatever's happening here.
Right.
And take that first step towards being healthy. Take that first step towards releasing yourself from perfectionism.
Oh, that's good.
Also, cut yourself a break when you do find resistance. And I do encourage you to look at it like it's a game. It's like, oh, okay, here's my Sherlock Holmes clue.
Right.
Resistance has surfaced.
Let's find the root. I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, was this helpful?
This was very helpful. Yes. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about your progress with this.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Remember, you are bigger than anything that you are going through or anything that is happening around you.